The fast start to winter continues, and we got another winter storm to break down in this morning's video. We'll go over the timeline of this first, and then we'll go over how much snow or ice your neck of the woods can end up seeing. After that, we will march forward, get deeper into December, into this weekend, into next week. Try to figure out what's next. Does it support widespread cold? Does the pattern support widespread warmth? A mixture of both? Do we have another winter storm signal we need to figure out? We'll go over it all, and I'll give you my take on everything as we go forward. So my name is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning. Hope you guys are doing well out there and had a wonderful week so far. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please drop it in the comments below. Let's get going this morning. So let's take a look at the current radar. We do got some snow flying around across the Great Lakes region, but this is our main storm system right here. There's a lot of pink on your screen up here in North Dakota. Let me know what you're actually seeing. Are you seeing any freezing rain, sleet, or is this all snow? But this is a healthy chunk of moisture diving down from Canada, and it's basically just kind of a souped up area of northern stream or clipper, and this is going to produce some heavy snowfall across areas of the upper Midwest, Great Lakes region, eventually into the New England area, and there's going to be some icing with this also. So this is the system we're going to be breaking down. Let's move forward and go over watches, warnings, and advisories. First off, there is going to be a significant high impact windstorm today across the northern high plains. So these areas are a mixture between high wind warnings. You got high wind warnings kind of overlapping or underlapping winter weather advisory. So some of these colors kind of change, and that's just because there's multiple weather alerts ongoing. But we could have some wind gusts exceeding 80 miles per hour down here in like Wyoming. So we'll discuss that in a little section in the middle of breaking down this winter storm. But as far as the winter weather alerts, we got winter storm warnings up for areas of North Dakota, Minnesota, and then we got kind of a secondary area of winter storm warnings up north of Minneapolis up to Duluth, includes this area right here getting into Wisconsin. We do got winter storm watches up for areas of Iowa and southern areas of Minnesota. We could get some upgrades to winter weather advisories, but we might get some blizzard warnings in some of these areas as we move forward because of the winds and just a little bit of snow. Remember, people always think blizzard, they think feet of snow. That is not the case. That is more so driven off. When you get a blizzard, it's driven off wind. So we'll dive deeper into that when we need to. But we got a lot of overlapping weather alerts into here. We got winter weather advisories. I mean, we got special weather statements, winter storm warnings. We got all kinds of stuff. So these winter weather advisories do extend all the way into lower Michigan, and then we already got winter weather advisories up for areas of PA and south and southwestern areas of New York, and we got winter storm watches up for the Adirondacks and the Tug Hill Plateau ahead of this storm system. So a lot is on the way, and I do want to mention West Virginia has winter storm watches. Could get an aggressive northwest flow event. So we'll see what happens with that. So let's go on and break this down. Let's go over the latest HRRR model run. Timestamp is up here. Back this up an hour if you are in Central Time because this is showing up in Eastern Time. But we'll move forward. This is 10, 11 o'clock this morning. You can watch this, but I'm not going to talk about this area of snow. This is what's going on right now that I just showed you on radar over the Great Lakes region. But, if you get impacted by this area of snow, you're going to get a couple inches of snow from that. But the main area we're going to break down is this. And as this clipper moves in, warm air push moves in because the low pressure is not moving in a very favorable position for widespread snow across the entire Midwest or Great Lakes region. The Great Lakes region probably for the northern areas, but not the Midwest. But we continue and we get into 2, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Heavy snow in northern Minnesota. We take it to about dinner time. This is 6, 7, 8 p.m. tonight. Heavy snow moving across Duluth. Northern areas of Minnesota, but you can tell, Minneapolis, the forecast snow amounts have actually dropped. This is just a solid wintry mix this afternoon in Minneapolis. So I think you'll be right on the line of just kind of a wintry mix and just heavy snow and even rain to your south. But we continue to move forward. We get into about 8 p.m. This evening, 7 to 8 p.m., and snow's moving into Green Bay. It's snowing heavily still up in International Falls, northern areas of Minnesota. This is just rain down Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Dubuque. Wintry mix begins to move into Madison, Janesville, Milwaukee. Could it be all snow, all rain, mixture of both? You have to see as we move forward. That's a 981 clipper moving in. I mean, this is definitely going to produce some strong winds to the south of this low pressure. Anytime you're at the south of this low, of that strength over land, you're going to get some strong winds. And that's why they're forecasting such strong winds moving forward in areas of the plains. And we'll speak on that here in a second. But let's go on and shift this a little bit more to the east here. Green Bay getting heavy snow later this evening. This is 9, 10 o'clock tonight. And then we move it all the way to about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You got a 980 millibar low going right over northern areas of Michigan. It's all snow in the UP, mixture of everything sort of in lower Michigan. I will back this up a little bit. This is around midnight tonight. Could start off as a front end thumping of snow in Detroit, a couple inches right off the dot. All rain down here in the Midwest. This is just rain in Springfield, Peoria, Indianapolis. Could start out as a wintry mix of everything in northern areas of Ohio, rain, snow. And this continues, and look how some of this rain switches to snow in Ohio, kind of east of Indianapolis. And this is getting about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And let's go on and shift this a little bit. I do want to mention kind of some squally weather. See these kind of darker bands of snow going through Iowa, Wisconsin. I mean, very strong winds. So with that, we could get brief blizzard conditions with just those kind of squally type bands of snow. Well, we take it to about tomorrow morning. Some rain tries to switch to some snow in Dayton, Columbus, up to Cleveland. Cincinnati, you're trying to switch to some snow. You got kind of these squalls almost going through lower Michigan. This is just a solid chunk of snow up here in the UP. And you can see these bandings right here. But we continue, and even Pittsburgh, you could go from rain to snow and get some pretty heavy snowfall rates for a few hour period. I mean, Buffalo, you're getting snow, but Rochester's showing rain. But with a low pressure kind of flying to your north, it doesn't support this staying all snow, but it could for a period. And then we take it to about midday tomorrow, and it's all snow from most of New England, but got a 979 low getting wrapped in with cold air. But you're going to struggle with temperature profiles with something like that to the south. It's just going to be an interesting day of weather, I think, tomorrow across the Ohio Valley. And you do try to switch to snow down here in like West Virginia, where we do have winter storm watches, and then just a solid snow event for New England. And then as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, this is when the lake effect snows will take over. And listen, you see here as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, you can see these kind of banding features of snow, really dark blue. This could be some heavier burst of snow, guys, moving through areas of West Virginia, western Maryland, areas of PA, southern tier of New York. I just want to watch this, and then we start to get all the way into the middle of the night tomorrow night, and you can see the snow trying to wrap down all the way into West Virginia. Solid northwest flow event cranking up down there. So that's the timeline of this. We'll start off west to east and talk about snow and ice totals. Pretty decent event, even for you guys with standards up here in areas of eastern North Dakota. Several inches of snow expected. This does include sections of Minnesota. We move further east in Minnesota here. Duluth going for 3 to 8 inches. So just a moderate event for you guys with standards, but certainly got a quick hitting winter storm on the way. And then we drop it down into southern Minnesota. You know, Minneapolis, you've dropped your totals down to 1 to 3 inches now. Up the road, you get into these yellow areas, you could get several inches of snow. You get down here in the southern areas of Minnesota, you could get a little bit of freezing rain. Like this is the ice forecast. A few 1/100ths of an inch of ice is possible, so a glaze, and you're probably going to get some sleet mixed in with all this too. This is kind of a tricky area, especially the northern half of Iowa for winter weather. Couple inches of snow is possible, and I really think this is picking up more so on kind of the energy that follows behind the main system. I don't think you're going to get much snow at all from that down here, but we could get some brief blizzard conditions down to Iowa with some of these snow squalls. Just not a ton of snow, a little bit of freezing rain is possible, just a couple 1/100ths of an inch, not a whole lot. But I do want to mention before we move further east, these winds will be howling. I mean, a significant windstorm that I don't feel like is getting talked about enough in the weather community will be ongoing across the northern plains. Areas of the upper Midwest. I mean, this is like 50, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts possible across areas of the Dakotas, Nebraska, down to Wyoming, Montana, even down into Iowa. So, but continuing to talk about the snow, the UP of Michigan is going to get a few inches of snow. Not a huge event by you guys' standards, but it'll just add to your winter totals so far. It's been a quick start to winter up here. We drop it back down into Wisconsin, Green Bay, 5 to 9 inches of snow, and just a swath of heavy snowfall through this area. Nothing record-breaking or anything like that, but a healthy snowstorm to just pad your snow stats for the winter. And then we drop it down and sort of into western, southwestern areas of Wisconsin. This is another tricky area, Eau Claire, 2 to 5. But you start to get kind of south of these areas. You can mix with a little bit of freezing rain. This is the ice forecast, just a kind of an area where you can get a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice, and some areas can get a 1/10 of an inch. So be aware of the freezing rain, a little bit of a glaze with this snow. Look, you're probably going to get a little sleet with that too. The rest of the southern areas of Wisconsin, Milwaukee could get a half an inch to an inch, a few inches of snow in these areas, still snow on the ground in these areas. So this will just pad the stats, like I keep saying. We drop it down to northern Illinois, not a big storm at all, half an inch, a touch of freezing rain as possible in these areas too. But, I mean, we just got to see what happens in the front end thumping of this and then the wraparound flow of the banding features as cold air drops in behind. But this is the rest of the UP, and this is northern areas of lower Michigan. So, Traverse City, 2 to 6, Gaylord, 2 to 6 inches of snow. So a few to several inches of snow is on the way for these areas. And then the rest of lower Michigan, 1 to 2 in Detroit, Big Rapids, 4 to 6, Grand Rapids, 1 to 2, Bad Axe, 4 to 6, Kalamazoo, an inch or less, Cadillac, 4 to 6. And then we show northern areas of Ohio, dusting to an inch. Areas, once you get into northeastern sections of Ohio, could get a few to several inches of snow. Cleveland going for around 2, Toledo 1. And then we drop it down to West Virginia. This does show southern areas of Ohio, half an inch here or there. Northwest flow event is going to get going. A few to several inches of snow is likely. In fact, I mean, they're going for as much as 6 to 8 in some of the higher terrain of the highlands. And you can see western areas of Maryland, this too could get a few to several inches of snow. And I will show some love to the Smokies only because I'm heading there tomorrow night. A touch of snow is possible in the Smokies, but this is just not diving down deep enough to show any appreciable snowfall totals. And this could change. Sometimes these events overachieve a little bit down here in this region. And I'm hoping it is. I'm kind of wish casting that, to be honest with you, just because I'm heading there tomorrow night. But PA, this is what you're looking at. The western areas of the state's going to be favored. So a few inches there. Erie, about 5 inches. Meadville, 7 inches. About an inch in Scranton. Wellsboro, 2 inches. And then we move it up to New York. And I just kind of showed a broad area of New York. I don't have it sectioned out into 4 different areas like last night's video. But Buffalo, around 3 inches. You get south of Buffalo, this is when we can get several inches of snow. The Tug Hill Plateau is going to get over a foot. Watertown, 6 inches. Syracuse, same thing, half a foot. Binghamton, an inch. And Albany, probably around an inch of snow. And then we take a look at the Berkshires. A few inches of wet snow is possible with a half an inch totals here and there. The Worcester Range and stuff like that. Or the hills, I'm sorry. They're going for a half an inch in Hartford, so we'll see what happens there. Nothing in Boston. And then showing the rest of Vermont and New Hampshire, several inches here and there. Brattlesboro, Robin, you can get a few more inches of wet snow. And then rounding this off with Maine and down eastern areas of the state, a few inches of wet snow, maybe several inches in certain spots up in here. So moving forward and just kind of discussing what is next, we take a look at the Euro. And in fact, it looks like I got some of this mixed up here. Yeah. So let's discuss this first. Let's discuss the pattern, kind of the part of the video we geek out with you a little bit. All right. The blue and the greenish areas, this is a dip in the trough of low pressure. This brings cold air, and then it brings energy, in this case in the form of snow. Is it going to bring any kind of significant storm system? Well, this winter storm moving in is pretty significant for certain areas. So let's draw on this, make sure we're good. So we got this dip right here, okay? And we got this spike in the ridge, not very tall. You still got this area right here, which is going to drop down into here. It's kind of like a piece of the polar vortex. A little bit of a cross-polar flow is going to set up. But we got this dip in the trough here. This is going to bring a shot of cold air here in the next few days to kind of end our work week and start our weekend across areas of the eastern U.S. Kind of reinforce that cold air. It's cold out there right now. A little bit of a moderation over the next couple of days, and then this dip in the trough, this dip in the jet is going to bring more cold air. Okay, so this swings in and then swings out. We start to get into Friday morning. You see this little area right here. Okay, and there's a connection here. We got a lot of cold air diving down right into here. Okay, this is going to bring some true Arctic air. Now, I know this looks a lot more impressive than, say, this. But there is a connection from the Arctic with this. Kind of like literally a piece of the polar vortex comes down. Now, this was the area that a few days ago it was showing an aggressive trough dig with this all the way down into here. It was showing an Arctic outbreak as far south as, all the way down to the Gulf coastline. Not so much anymore. We get into Friday, and it is a steady feed from the Arctic region of cold air. Okay, but the coldest anomalies here, it's probably like right here in this region. Okay, we even have a broad ridge now building up over the southern sections of the U.S. and certainly still over the western U.S. Okay, but this is a cross-polar feed of cold air. A cross-polar flow of cold air feed coming down from the Arctic regions. Okay, but the energy associated with this is mainly going to dive right into here. Okay, it's not, I mean, the trough isn't digging enough. If it was digging down into here, then we could have some energy digging down to here, and we could have some winter weather chances further to the south. But to me, this screams just a northern stream dominated pattern right through here. Okay, now as we move forward and we start to get into the weekend, that nudge, it tries to nudge south. So the trough tries to dig a little bit more like this. This is going to allow for cold air towards the end of the weekend, early next week, to dive further to the south as this trough digs further. And this could dig just enough to pop off maybe a storm system right into here. Maybe. Okay. And then we move past this time frame and you get a big cold air source gets anchored across Atlantic Canada, and then we see a ridge beginning to build in. Okay, and we'll stop it right there. So here comes the first blast of cold air from the trough digging in right now behind this winter storm that we just broke down at the beginning of the video. You can see behind it, a lot of cold air gets pulled down. Not record-breaking cold by any means, but the blues and the greens you see anywhere from a few degrees below average to as much as 15 degrees below average, which is pretty cold for early to mid December standards. And this is actually trending a little bit colder. But you see this area right up here? This is from that cross polar flow that's going to set up behind this other trough that's going to dig in. But you can tell it matches up well. We get all the way into Saturday evening. The Barney colors begin to show up, and you have a very intense temperature gradient setting up over sections of the country. And this is going to bring Arctic air. I mean, I'm talking 25, 35 degree below average temperatures right across the plains, the upper Midwest. So a brutal Arctic blast across this region. And if you look at this, it makes sense, right? We go back to this, and just that, because I know that this part can probably confuse people, and I'm still trying to get better at explaining it, by the way. But if you look at this and you compare it to the same time frame, pretty much right into here, you can see this trough does not dig down far enough. Therefore, the cold air does not dig down far enough. In fact, we got above average temperatures, not a torch, for the deep south. But then as that trough digs in a little bit more right into here, okay, this is Monday morning, and sure enough, we take it to Monday morning, you can see it digging in more. The cold air that follows digs in more. Okay, so we get a blast of cold air at the end of this coming weekend into early next week, after the blast of cold air coming in at the end of this week. But how long does it last? You can see a warm up at the end, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But what about any kind of moisture between now and the next week? 10 days. Okay, we start Thursday. You can see some energy diving down here as we're getting into our Thursday afternoon. Here comes another clipper. This could bring a band of snow across the upper Midwest, and the lighter blues and then the slightly darker blues. I mean, that's light to moderate snow. And then after that, we get into Friday, we get into Saturday. Here comes another area of snow setting up with that Arctic air mass is diving down across the northern section of the country. There's a little bit of a connection of the streams here. And I would just still say that this is more so northern stream, but we got rain to the south and snow to the north, skiing into Saturday evening. And then after that, we get into next week. Another quick clipper dives down early next week. And then, I mean, you can see some moisture begin to build as we get between the 7 to 10 day range down here. But, I mean, you're not seeing anything too crazy. And, I mean, it's just, if you look at the Euro ensemble between now and the next 10 days, it shows snow where it normally snows this time of the year. It's stuck in the northern sections of the country, so accumulating snow will continue up in this region, but nothing to the south. Now, we take a look at the eastern U.S. Okay, we're going to start this Thursday morning here in the next couple days. You can see a little bit of snow showing up, northwest flow snow all the way down to the Smokies, and just kind of some wisping snow bands out here, some light snow at times, moderate, and a little bit of a moderation of the air mass. And then we start to get into Friday, okay? I want to watch how far south this gets, but this is an interesting little feature here. We're getting to Thursday, and then we get into Friday morning, showing some light, moderate snow working as far south as Kentucky, heck, even northeastern areas of Tennessee. I really wish, and I'm wish casting here, guys, because I'm going to be in the mountains. I really wish this could trend a little bit further south. I mean, that would be magical, but there's just enough of a bump in the ridge here to just make this go up here. And it looks like model guys are just locking into the idea of this moving right into the same areas as continue to get snow. I know you can hear the irritation in my voice a little bit, but sure enough, it hits the same areas, eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, areas of Virginia, the form of a band of light snow, even moderate snow across these areas Friday. And I mean, it even looks heavier across this region right here. So even showing some snow breaking out across Virginia as we're getting into Friday evening. I mean, that is this Friday evening. So kind of the rich get richer type pattern. I know I'm sitting here in the South feeling the same way, but you know, it's nice for the areas that are getting it. And then we get into later this weekend. I think a stronger system moves in. I'm not talking about like a major storm system, no. But cold air is kind of anchored to the north, and we can see a big Arctic air mass dropping down. Anytime these blue lines get close to each other, we know we got a lot of cold air aloft moving in. And this sets up a kind of a moderate winter storm across the Ohio Valley, sections of the Midwest, and once again, the interior New England area. And it's all rain to the south. And who knows, maybe it switches to some snow and the southern Alps, and maybe enough cold air catches up with this. So, you know, we'll see. But it does develop a 995 millibar low into areas in the Northeast. In fact, let's look. We got the 06Z, so we can see what it shows. And yeah, I mean, it's not as aggressive, but it does show kind of that little bit of snow Friday. And here it comes into the weekend, and yeah, there's not as much of a connection here anymore. So, you know, the latest Euro, not as excited. But listen, if you live along the I-95 corridor, I'd watch the end of this coming weekend. Models keep teasing at a moderate snow event that's plenty cold enough, but can you get precipitation to get thrown into this area? So I would watch that, and we'll stop it there. Okay, but the signal of snow between now and the next 10 days or so, you know, there's a little bit of a signal brewing from New York City to Boston. Not much for the Mid-Atlantic, but that little bit of signal you see in Virginia, that is, I think, for Friday's event. So we'll watch that. Little bit of a signal for the mountains down into, you know, North Carolina, Tennessee, but everything's anchored to the north. Okay. Now, moving past this, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of good news if you're a winter weather and cold weather fan. I mean, we get past 10 days and almost all ensemble guidance shows zonal flow, basically a giant ridge over the lower 48. All your cold air is bottled up to the northern section of the country, far northern section of the country, I might add, and Canada. So, and you compare, and this ridge right here would bring above average temperatures. And then, I mean, you look at the Euro AI model, it's no different. It shows the same thing, a little bit of a different position of the cold air feed. And the GFS ensemble, there's a little bit more of a push on the eastern side. But, I mean, if what this is showing actually happens, and we know we've been trending colder once we work these warm-ups into the shorter range, then we're likely going to get flooded with a lot of Pacific air, which normally, you know, promotes a warm-up across these areas. So, you know, when you get kind of this is the 200 millibar flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it's just going zonal. I mean, just like this, bang. You're going to get flooded with a lot of nasty Pacific air. We don't want no air from the Pacific. You don't want any cold air source to come from the Pacific. I mean, it'll get a little cold, but it's not what we need. But this is just a straight zonal look. Could this change? Absolutely. We already have seen it change many times. But I don't 100% like what I'm seeing as a winter weather fan for the week leading up to Christmas. But we know that this can change. So my take on this is that it will change. I think it will. I think that we'll trend colder. Do I think we're going to trend to an extremely active period of winter weather right up to Christmas? I don't think so, to be honest. I've always liked the last 10 days of December, but we're still trying to figure this one out. It is a tough pattern figuring out because you got a lot of contradicting things. You got the MJO, which I'm not going to show in this video, but it still supports cold air. And listen, we've been in MJO for almost a week now, phase 8. Okay, and it's been cold across the central to eastern U.S. So it's basically supporting the phase we are in. Just not everybody's getting winter weather. Virginia is. Virginia certainly is, and surrounding states. But I mean, so it has been a December to remember for certain areas. But you know, for us in the South, it's like, dude, you know, hey, when are we going to get ours? So I get it. I hear you, and I feel the same way. But just kind of wrap this up, look at the rest of the forecast for today. Not expecting anything across the southeast. A lot of areas will finally get some sunshine. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I saw the sun here in South Carolina. But it's going to be raining across areas of southern Florida. But, I mean, nothing as far as any kind of crazy weather. The northeast, we're going to get the leftovers of this clipper that moves in. This will provide some festive snows very cold snow. So this evening, snow will move across New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and we might even get a burst of snow later on tonight as far south as Boston, southeast Mass, maybe even Rhode Island. This will deliver some light snowfall accumulations across the down east areas of Maine. And then you see the big system move in. We've already talked about that. South central U.S., nothing to speak on. Gusty winds, especially the further north you get. But, I mean, it's dry. It's calm. Nothing to really speak on. The western U.S., which you're looking at, systems will continue to fly into the north. The southwest will continue to stay dry, and it's just down here is being dominated by a ridge. That's why it's been so quiet for the southwest. You consistently have a ridge in place. Temperatures cold in the northeast. It's going to be a very cold day across the southeast too, even colder in Florida today. And once you start to work into the central to western U.S., you can definitely see the warm air. I mean, climbing into the 70s across the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. So let's go back to this and create a timestamp. Let's do a quick Bible devotion, and then we'll wrap this up. This morning, I'm in Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 through 4. It says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interests of others. And I think I've done this one before, but I mean, it's always good going back over some of these verses. But I put, this may not be easy at first, as our flesh will make it difficult to not be selfish. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, I believe, and the more joy you will find in it. The world is default selfish. Stand out and be a light, and you will be used to inspire others to do the same. And that goes back to planting seeds, guys. You know, other people is going to see you do these things, and they're going to be inspired to do it themselves. Plants little seeds. We talk about that a lot, and all of a sudden you create a domino effect of people doing really good things. Okay, and you know, I've learned a lot of this from my granny. My granny was always, she really was a huge factor in my life in high school. You know, one of the most pivotal times of anybody's life. You're going through the most changes, stuff like that. And my mom was struggling, and my granny had to take care of me from 10th through 12th grade. And I watched her at a kind of younger, more immature mindset, and I didn't understand at the time why she would go out her way to do all these things for everybody else. I mean, she just did not have put any time for herself. But I really feel like that was God's gift to her. It is God's gift to her because she's still alive, but she still does it. She just is just a giver. She gives her time, gives her effort, gives her energy, and I just watched her do it all the time. Didn't understand it, but as I got older, I realized that, you know, that she was just using what gift God gave her, and she's a wonderful person for it, and she still does it, and it's awesome. And you know, it's crazy. I did this Bible devotion this morning, and then I went to the gym. Then I went by Starbucks, got some coffee for my wife, and sure enough, the person in front of me paid for my coffee. I didn't have anybody behind me, so I couldn't pay for their coffee. I know a lot of people's thinking that, but I was thinking, wow, there's somebody being selfless and going out their way to put somebody else first, and just looking out for somebody else, right? And I thought that was cool. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for the continued support with the channel, and we'll continue to try to figure out what's next. God bless.